All right.
Well, let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
So today we're going to talk about our attorney-written, equity-approved clauses, and we reference them Frascona Clauses. You hear us say that all the time. We have Frascona Clauses. So we're going to talk about how to access them
Perfect.
and how to use them.
And for those of you who don't know Frascona, Frascona was an attorney for several of the board of realtors. Our personal attorney, he passed away. It's probably now been 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He was an amazing man. He had a
Huge
great
realtor advocate.
Huge realtor advocate. Fun speaker. He was just one of a kind. But he has a wonderful law firm, which is Frascona, Joyner, Goodman, and Greenstein. And anytime you guys ask for a recommendation for an attorney, I always refer you there. They are not the least expensive in town by any means.
No, but they are the best.
They are the best. They're up in Boulder. John Goodman is who I personally use for the company when we need to reference an attorney. So anyway, that's where we talk about Frascona Clauses. They put together these clauses so that you guys aren't writing stuff that help many different scenarios. I mean, we have a ton of these clauses that you guys have access to.
There's like 94 of them.
And they're awesome.
Yeah. And so when you have a backup offer or a 1031 exchange or a home sale contingency, there's all pre-written attorney clauses. And
so we'll show you how to, one, get to them, how to use them. And then there's this great write-up. It's
which I think nobody knows about. So this is what
a few
really
people, Mark Baker does, because Mark says, where is that write-up? Can I have that? So there's a handful of people that, because we've had this for many years, and many companies do use this service. But yeah, the write-up's amazing. So
yeah, so it's a 42-page PDF. I'm wanting to say it's 42 pages long. And it outlines every single clause that we have uploaded into CTM, what it means, where to put it in the contract. And then there's also addenda. So addendums that can go with different contracts based upon different scenarios. So we've got a few of those as well. So we'll show you where to download this PDF so that you don't have to hop into CTM and go, what's the name of that clause? What does it mean? It breaks everything down. So it's really, really helpful.
I can see Paul getting excited and actually thinking, this is something I should read. The whole thing, since he's learning how to help answer questions, and he's really learned most of the answers are in the contract. It really is amazing. I mean, you guys are awesome. We have great agents. I've been doing this a long time. And you guys still ask us questions that are, what's paragraph 10.1? Oh, I forgot to look at the contract. Yeah. Go to the contract first.
Yeah. But no, to read through all these different Frascona clauses, it's amazing how many different things you can put into a contract. I mean, there's even one that's written up that talks about the seller leaving the property in broom swept condition, or having a professional cleaner come in, and the language is all ready to go. So you don't have to be wordsmithing that kind of stuff. So if you read through them, break them down into chunks, it's a lot of information, but you'll realize that there's all kinds of things that you could be utilizing that you didn't even know exist.
Yeah. So let's dive in.
Let's dive in, yeah. And then if you guys have any questions along the way, and Paul is smiling, by the way. So yeah, if you have questions along the way, please post those in the comment section of Facebook, and we'll just cruise right through this.
Awesome. So we're going to go to Elevate first. This is a super easy place to find all of them, and I'm just making sure that you guys can see my screen. It's switched over.
We got it.
Very good.
We're good to go.
So under Forms, and if we change it, it's kind of in a weird spot right now. So if we end up moving it, we'll let you guys know. Packet Forms. So it's under Packet Forms.
Not exactly intuitive, but now that you know where it's at, it'll be easy for you to find it.
And Colorado Payroll Packets is what this is called. But you can see down here, it says Frascona Addendums. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit.
Yep, good idea.
So we have an addendum to buy and sell with financing, additional provisions,
these are all the addendums, not the clauses.
Those are just addendums.
Addendums to go with your contracts. Explanation, letter, let's try that. So there we go. This is it.
So.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So they have some general comments at the beginning just of how to use the addenda. and how to use the clauses. But when you scroll down, they break down every single clause by name of clause, which is really helpful. It'll go through all the addendums as well and just kind of let you know if you keep scrolling down. It's going to be a few pages in. So contract provisions. So this is where it starts. It starts with number 1, buyer designation, form of tenancy, cooperation required for 1031 exchange, assignment permitted, and it literally goes through all 94 clauses. So each paragraph contains the clause that you can insert into your contract to buy and sell. There's also clauses for your listing agreements, and they will be designated in here. It will tell you listing agreement.
So is there one that you really like that you would like us to go over? And
Let's see. I'm trying to remember. Let me think. We'll talk about backup offers. If I can find the backup clause in here, it might be easier just to hop into CTM versus going through here because they're not all alphabetically. Amphetamine disclosure, well and septic. Yeah, there's so many, as you can see.
And again, what we're looking at are the explanations. That these aren't the actual verbiage that you put in. This is explaining to you when you put the verbiage in what it's doing,
what
and
it's
how
doing
it
and what it means. Yeah, I do like these hot market clauses, and these get updated annually based upon the market conditions that we're in. So for example, the disclosure of buyers need to sell an existing property to complete the transaction. That's a really good clause. Before the existing property sale contingency, that is now 10.7, was added to the commission approved contract forms. Those contract forms included a provision by which the buyer could disclose whether the buyer needed to sell an existing property to complete the purchase contemplated by the contract in order to make the offers more attractive. And so it goes through and explains what does this actual clause mean and what is it doing. That particular clause is utilized, say you're not going to do a conditional sale deadline in your contract because you can purchase a home without having to sell yours, but you'd prefer
You'd like to sell your home.
Have your
still.
home sold and closed. You can put that disclosure in the contract that although I'm not making this offer contingent upon the sale of my home, I do have a home that I'd like to sell. So that one's really helpful.
And how about this? Here, there's an appraisal gap. So for those of you that are like, oh, I'm going to write above asking price, and we're going to have an appraisal gap of $10,000 because maybe it won't appraise. How do I do that? There is a clause that will do that for you. We'll show you how to access the clause, but this explains how that works.
Yep.
So before you start using clauses and just inserting them, go and read this as well so that you can explain this to your client exactly what it is that you're inserting into the contract because it's not standard.
Right, exactly, and how that affects the overall contract.
And it wouldn't be bad to actually take this and cut and paste part of it and send it to your client. Does this work for you? This is what I have available to me, and it's fine for you to use. These are approved by our attorney, so you can totally do that and say, yeah, this is what we can use.
Yeah, or for example, number 56, the effect of no inspection objection. This would be a really good paragraph to send to your clients to let them know what it is that they are doing by waiving the inspection.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, there's some really, really good clauses in here.
So again, this is to educate you on what the clauses are that you can use. And now we'll go show you how you can actually put them in CTM, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
If you have any questions
this
about
is just the educational
Yeah.
portion, so that you know what each clause actually means, because it's written in legal terminology and not all the time does it make sense. And so when your buyer says, you're going to hop into CTM, when your buyer says, hey, what does this mean? You've actually got a definition.
So we're going to, Paul will call Lance over at corporate. We will take number 19 explanation letter. We will move it into Addenda explanation letter and put it all together. So it's just right there, the very first thing. So
right,
that
and seamless.
Nice
Yep.
and easy and elevate. So that's what we will do.
Perfect.
So we're going to go to CTM? Is that
Exactly.
what we're doing? Okay.
Yep. So we're going to log into CTM right now.
Okay, here we go.
We'll do a little demo on where you find the clauses, how you insert them into your contracts. So once you log into your account, we're actually going to create a contract. So yep, you'll just hit create new contract in the upper right corner of your screen. And then let's just, for sake of demonstration, we're going to click on the contract to buy and sell the residential. You could do this in a listing agreement. You could do it in a buyer agency agreement as well. But most of the time, if you're going to be using these clauses, they're most applicable to the contract to buy and sell. So once this opens, you're going to type up your contract like you normally would. You're going to scroll all the way to the bottom to the additional provisions section 30. And that's where you can typically write any language that you would like to, and we always advocate that you try not to write anything in this section. So when you get to additional provisions section 30, in the upper right hand side of that box is the clauses button. So when you click on that, it's going to open every single clause and it will tell you the date that it was last edited and uploaded. So these are all new as of this year.
So like we just spoke of, there's the hot market appraisal gap. We just talked about that.
Exactly. And so normally you'd be like, well, what is that clause? Because you can't see what the actual clause is, you just get the titles. So that's where you're going to kind of play around in CTM and you're going to cut and paste clauses in and then you're going to read them and then you're going to go back to your PDF and get all of the summaries. So let's go ahead and let's just pick any one of them.
We'll have a backup.
Let's do backup conditions.
There it is. We're getting, you guys are asking about backups because, again, in a hot market, people jump on a house and sometimes find out that they really didn't want to be jumping on the house. And being in a backup situation, you've got a chance to actually get that home because you do have a few more sale fails in these hot markets because people are making decisions maybe more quickly than they'd like to. So this is what you would end up doing. You'd have your whole offer already written up and it already was accepted by somebody else. But they said, yeah, we'll put you in backup position. Well, this is what you would do then.
So there's going to be, for certain clauses, the backup position clause specifically, sometimes they have multiple ways the clause is written up. So you can choose one of these three. I recommend the third because it's the most comprehensive. So I delete the top two. And then when you hit the save button, it will actually put this into clause format. Right now, it's kind of looks a little gibberish to most people because it's
going to automatically insert your buyer's names, the dates and deadlines. So that's why it looks kind of weird like that.
So go ahead and hit save and let's show everybody what this clause looks like once it's actually put into the contract. So let's do print PDF or a print preview. And then we'll scroll all the way down to section 30. And then there's your clause. Seller is currently obligated to sell the property under contract dated blank, the first contract. Seller's obligation to close this contract is contingent upon the buyer under the first contract acknowledging the first contract's termination in writing. Seller reserves the right to extend any deadlines or otherwise modify the first contract without affecting this contingency or this contract. Buyer has the right to terminate under this paragraph and 25.1 at any time prior to receiving notice of the termination of the first contract from the seller. There's your backup clause. So what happens is when you're writing a backup offer, you do your offer as you normally would. I recommend that you put MEC dates in your date and deadline chart because your buyer doesn't want to start investing money in home inspections and appraisals if they're in a backup position. Only when they get moved into first position, if that first offer terminates, is when you want those dates and deadlines to clip away. So in addition to this backup offer clause that states, hey, we acknowledge we're in backup position, not in first position, You're also going to want to write something in there, and we don't have a clause for this, you can free write it, that just states dates and deadlines under section 3.1 won't start until buyer receives written notification that they've been moved into first position, because that backup clause doesn't state that, hey, those MEC dates aren't going to start clipping away. So once the buyer receives notification that the first offer is terminated and they're moved into first position, that's when those dates and deadlines go. So that's how you do backup offer.
Cool. So anything else we want to show on that?
No, I'm really just going in there and playing around with those clauses is going to be a good idea. Maybe click on the clause button one more time and I'll show where the listing side clauses are. So scroll back up right there. So yeah, I'll show you how to distinguish between the ones that are for the contract to buy and sell and the ones that are for listing agreements. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see CBS. That stands for contract buy and sell. When you scroll down, you'll end up seeing a different ERB, which is exclusive right to buy. So those are for your buyer listing agreements, and LS is for your listing agreements. So that lets you know which clauses are for contract to buy and sell, which clauses are for buyer agencies, and which clauses are for listing contracts. So hopefully that's helpful.
Awesome. So I see clauses throughout here, though.
Well, there's clauses that can be put into different paragraphs of the contract. So not all of them need to go into the additional provisions. There are well and septic clauses, which you're going to put in your due diligence section. And so it'll state seller needs to get a septic use permit and provide copies of that information to the buyer. So yes, very good point, Todd.
And I think I saw somewhere, and I can't find it right now. Yeah, there's the water and well rights. So if it pertains to that paragraph, there are clauses. So not everything goes to additional provisions. What I was looking for is who's paying for title insurance and who's selecting title insurance. And I'm not saying right off the top of my head, but there is a clause that states who's going to pay for it. Maybe you want the seller to pay for it, but you want to select it. You can go to that section, find that section.
Yeah, I don't think you can insert a clause in this section.
Maybe it's down in additional provisions.
Yeah, you have to put that one in additional provisions because title section is 8.1 and they don't have a spot to put in a free flow.
Yeah. Then that does go to additional provisions. So make sure you look around and see where things need to go first. But those of you that say, hey, I'd like to be able to select the title company, there is an additional provision for that.
Yep, exactly. So questions. What questions do you guys have on these clauses? I see some listing agents insist on using first contract termination versus MEC. Thoughts? I don't care what terminology you use, whatever works best for you, your client, the listing agent, whatever you guys understand and mutually agree upon. So yeah, you can do first contract termination and make your abbreviation FCT and just disclose in the additional provisions FCT means when first contract terminates and buyer receives notice.
As long as it's clear to everybody what it means.
Exactly. So you don't have to use MEC. Great question, Tanya. I think that is the only question that we've gotten so far. Anything else you guys want to ask us about the clauses, specific clauses? Do we have a clause for this? What else can we find?
And really, I would go in and just download that document right now. It's number 19. And just put it on into your computer. I mean, Elevate's great to have a resource for stuff. The things that you like to use, download them and save them to your own desktop, create your own file folder somewhere on your computer so you always have it, and then you're not looking for things or your Wi-Fi is not working at the moment or whatever. Right. And you have an extra 10 or 15 minutes, go read a few of those and educate yourself, because you don't know you need them until you need them.
And sometimes that happens when you haven't put them in the contract, and then you call me and say, oh, I've got this problem. I say, well, did you put this clause in your additional provisions? And you're like, I didn't even know that was there.
So yeah, go educate yourself and see what's out there. And you might have been writing some things up, or your buyers might be writing some things up, and you're like, oh, look, there's this. Or you even got a 1031 that was given to Eileen, I think.
Yeah, Eileen Kitco, she had an agent that presented a 1031 addendum. And so it was actually a full page addendum. It might have even been 2 pages. And there were a few things in there that her client wasn't comfortable with. And I said, hey, just use the 1031 clause. And it's short, it's sweet, and it doesn't have all these additional caveats that the addendum did. And her client felt much better about that.
Yeah,
so
1031 should be very simple.
it's very simple.
Yeah.
Very, very simple.
So yeah, take a look and see what's in there. And some agents are like, oh, this clause, I'm going to use it every single time.
Yes.
I like the broom swept and what that really, really means. And that's part of your added value in representing your clients, is that you go beyond just the ordinary contract and you insert some things approved by our attorneys that are going to make things a little bit tighter and a little bit more on whoever you're representing, whether it be the seller or the buyer, and tighten up those contracts. Because the contracts, if you're a seller, they're really loose. I mean, as you guys know, we get the phone call going,
It's written in favor of the buyer.
what do we do? How do we keep and it's like, you know what? It's so hard to keep earnest money. It's so hard to keep a buyer's feet to the fire, and you've given them all the way until 4 days before closing to get out just because they don't like their loan. Mm-hmm. Well, there's some wording out there that we have that will tighten that up, and they can't just get out just because they don't like their loan. There's some tighter language in there that's going to be very specific. And again, in a seller's market, you can use these types of things, and you can put a little pressure on the buyer to say that we're going to hold your feet to the fire and this kind of stuff. So take a look at those.
And another one of my favorite clauses that I've started inserting in my purchase contracts is the one that talks about the date and deadline time is not 11:59 at night. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. So all dates and deadlines terminate at 6 o'clock that day, instead of us working at 9 and 10 o'clock at night trying to resolve inspection resolutions. I put that language
No,
into
that's great.
my additional provisions, and all of us know our title deadline is by 7 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night. Our inspection resolution, 6 o'clock at night. We need to reach a resolution by that time.
Yeah, let's not drag things out.
Yeah, there's no need for it. So
take
that's
control.
one of my favorites that has rolled over into all of my contracts. And then if you guys have not downloaded our interactive contract to buy and sell, I've taken my favorite 11 Frascona clauses and put them in the body of the additional provisions. So start with those and just look at those. And they're the most common, most frequently used ones that I like the best. So
Awesome. Anything else?
let's see. So is SPD or general warranty deed recommended for buyers and sellers? So special warranty deed or general warranty deed? SPD, I think you mean.
Well, yes, but that's seller's property disclosure. But we know what you're saying.
I'm guessing, you mean, is it preferred to provide a special warranty deed or a general warranty deed?
Depends on who you're representing.
Yes.
That. If you're representing the seller, a special is the best. If you're representing the buyer, a general is best. So again, it depends on what side of the coin you're on and who you're representing and how hard you guys are going to push for it.
Yeah. And when we saw all the contract revisions and the revisions made to the title industry, special warranty kind of became the industry standard.
Right.
And that's what we see. The contract defaults to that. So if you don't check a box, it automatically defaults to special warranty. So we're seeing that being negotiated the most often in contracts. But again, if you're on the buyer side, go for that general warranty deed because it's going to give them the most coverage.
It gives them a little bit more security. You bet.
Great question. Let's see. This is awesome. Had no idea this document existed. Very good.
Yay, that's what we wanted.
Thanks for the clarification. Very good. All right. Paul says, another quick reference. Don't forget Stacey's interactive contract and put the links. And he was doing that at the same time we were talking about it. So great minds do think alike. I think, let's see, Ricky Lee. I've seen listing agents put in the remarks, sale of the home contingent upon seller finding a replacement home. As a buyer, I would never agree to this. Is this an unrealistic request by sellers? Great question.
And I'd say we run into this twice a year. I don't hear it a lot, but you get those sellers out there, and you guys know them. You're putting their house on the market and they're so nervous that you're going to be able to find them a home because they haven't found anything yet, because we have told them once you find that house that you love, you need to be able to move on it, which means we got to have your house on the market right now. And that's the best scenario in a hot market like this, unless they can buy without selling. But if they have to sell and buy, they need to get their house on the market. Well, how do you overcome that fear? Hopefully they have
You're
the
going to
trust.
sell my house and then you're not going to find me a house. That's the fear.
Yeah. So hopefully they trust you, and you explain to them how you've done this and it works, and life just, it's amazing how it happens. I can't think of any of our clients that have had to do 2 moves.
And that's the beauty of post-closing occupancy agreements right now, is it does help give buyers and sellers that freedom and flexibility of selling their home and staying in their home until they find that next one, but they've already got that cash in hand, so that they don't have to be non-contingent. Because it's really hard to come in against 10 other offers and say, hey, my client has to sell their home, but it's not even on the market, but we're going to get it on the market. Not super strong.
Yeah.
So,
but if you have one of those clients, again, you're the listing agent, you want that listing, and they're like, no, I want to make this contingent on me finding a home. I'm just freaked out. I'm scared. You'll take the listing and you'll say, okay, we'll write this in. Again, it's the price is negotiable. Earnest money is negotiable. Closing's negotiable. It's all negotiable. So this is what they're wanting. They put it in the MLS. It made them feel good. Now you come with your buyer. You write a great offer. You give them 60 days and you say, but no, we're not going to make this subject to you finding a home. Now they've got cash in front of them, a real closing date, and it's up to them to make that decision. Do they feel comfortable enough accepting a real offer, moving on? Because no, me representing a buyer, I'm not going to let my buyer hang out there. I mean, I'm not going to do an inspection. I'm not doing an appraisal.
They're going to call their movers. They're going to give 30-day notice in their lease or whatever their moving situation is. Maybe they've sold their home. It can be really tricky. I have seen a couple agents successfully pull this provision off, and they put specific deadlines. They didn't run it all the way to the closing date, but buyer won't start the inspection process and the appraisal process until the seller identifies the next home. So if they're going to drag their feet, we're going to drag our feet. And so you kind of do a little bit of a dance and you massage it to make sure that everybody is agreeable. And I have seen that actually work.
Yeah. But I'd say 8 out of 10 times when they use this type of a thing, which isn't done often, when the offer comes in and you know, it's real.
Yeah.
They're
excited. They move forward. They just saw a house online that they're ready to go buy today.
Yeah.
So it's like magic. It all works out.
It usually
somehow.
works out.
I don't know.
They just need some confidence.
Yeah. So great question. Irene, since it is discouraged to write in the additional provisions box, if you wanted to mention your suggestion that the MEC dates and deadlines would start after being moved into first position with a backup offer clause, where would you write this?
Well, yes, that goes into additional provisions. So I guess it's not the box that we're saying that we don't want you writing in. We don't want you writing contract law.
Yeah.
Period. But there are
going to clarify something.
Times where we need to clarify things. It's done in the additional provisions, and you would do the backup offer, and then just like we said, you would clarify when those MEC dates actually start upon becoming in first position. So that is where you would do that.
Additional provisions is where you would put that.
We just don't want you, Irene, or anyone else just making up
first right of refusal language and
backup offer language, any kind of language.
Yeah. But if you're putting in seller to provide buyer with a 1-year home warranty,
that's a perfect place. And you don't need a approved contract law, but there is one. We do have one about home warranties.
But
so
you are allowed to write things like that.
Yeah. We just try and keep them simple.
Yeah.
Simple. Yeah.
Great question. Thank you, Irene. All right. Well,
all right.
I think we're at our time.
We went over a little bit, but it's been a while since we've seen you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll give you another 20 seconds in case there's any other questions. But we're so glad that you guys were able to join us. And next week, let's do a little promo.
Okay.
Sales meeting.
Sales meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have Tuesday talks on sales meeting week. So we won't be here next Tuesday, but you will see us live on Wednesday. And we've got a good sales meeting lined up for you guys. Yeah. So we're excited.
Super excited.
All right. I think that's it.
All right.
You guys have a great day.
See you later.
Call us if you need us.
Bye.
Bye.